Good afternoon, I'm Tonia Pyle, and this is Ridgecrest Talk. We're delighted today to have Pat Ferris with us as chair of the upcoming Parade of 1,000 Flags. Pat, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tonia, for having me. I'd like to talk about the parade.
So it's getting down to the wire here, and I guess, how long have I guess it started which year exactly, the parade?
I had that information in front of me. I think this is the 8th year for the parade, the 11th year for the Remembrance Field.
Uh-huh.
The Remembrance Field was that the Exchange Club started that before we finally realized we needed to get 1,000 people to be part of putting those flags in place in the Remembrance Field. So it turned out to be a great opportunity for community participation.
Okay, so originally it was just placing the flags as a remembrance in the field.
In Freedom Park.
And so then the Exchange Club had an exchange of ideas to have it become a parade, a marching parade.
Because people weren't realizing that it was back there. People weren't getting the benefit of all the work it took to pounding 1,000 pieces of rebar on the ground and posting 1,000 flags was no small job. But now we have flag bearers who post the flags. Prior to the event, we do have people who go out 4 o'clock in the morning and start getting the rebar placed, so that's how they post the flags is on. But now we have a great community participation because people know that the flags are there. Communities, families come and have picnics in the evening in the field of flags, and of course there are grassy knolls and the children enjoy that, so it makes a whole week of people being able to enjoy and participate and remembering. It's just a great.
Whose idea was this? Was this your idea?
Actually, the Remembrance Field was Timothy Knipe's idea.
Oh.
There's in Bakersfield they had a similar presentation, and so he brought that here. So he started out with the idea of the field, and then I one day thought, well, if we can get 1,000 people to carry flags, we'll have 1,000 people that will be able to know that that it's there. And someone said, well, that's going to be pretty hard. And I said, well, you know, if you get 100 people to sponsor 10 people each, you'll have 1,000. So that's kind of how that came together. And actually it's worked because we have lots of team captains that do this every year, and the schools are in place now. It's kind of taken on. That first year it was a real challenge, but actually the first year we had close to 1,000 the first year, but then it's grown since. Now we do have a little challenge this year because when it's on a weekend, Labor Day weekend, a lot of people do go out of town, so we have to work a little harder to keep our numbers up. But we don't want to fail in that, and I don't think we will, because we have China Lake participating. They bring over Marines and sailors who march in the parade, and we actually have Congressman Kevin McCarthy is going to be our Grand Marshal this year. This is great. I mean, he's very powerful, a very powerful person in this
majority
nation,
leader
a majority leader
in the Congress.
And so to be able to have him here is really wonderful. But I think it'll be good for him because I think as those people don't see good things happening everywhere, as they take up the responsibilities of trying to keep things going in this country in a positive way. But when you come to a place where a community and you're surrounded by 1,000 flags and people who love their community. Now the Exchange Club, their mission statement is God, country, and family. So this is a perfect package. And this community expresses it so well.
Yes,
it's
it
not
does.
something we put a face on by having this. It's just an expression of the real sense of community that we have here with the mission on the base. People are committed to and understand the cost of war. And so this gives a great expression for us to remember our heroes and to help our children understand the cost of war, 9/11, when that was a day of tragedy that so shocked, and that, of course, our country will never be the same again as a result of that terrible day. But we have a lot of children who weren't even born yet now who are coming in and we need to help them remember. So that's another.
Help them learn.
Yeah. So
what-
this gives them a sense of community, a strong sense of patriotism, and of understanding the cost of our freedom. So that's all part of what this brings together.
Now, tell me a little bit more about the Exchange Club and what it's about.
It's a national organization, and like I say, they're about God, country, and family, and so they keep that in front and center. Of they do several things in the community. About they set up some freedom foundations, and we support good causes and our youth, especially our youth. So it's a great organization. It's a small group, but they take on some pretty powerful things. And this for the last, I think, since 2010, China Lake has sponsored this jointly. So having that brings this is the only event or activity I know of that there's a partnership with China Lake and Ridgecrest, which we're one community, and that we need to encourage and nurture that opportunity. And so Peggy Schoaf, who's public affairs, works very closely with me, and we're on the phone daily. So and the Navy brings the color guard and of course their officialdom, and so they'll be well represented this year as well.
Well, we're getting ready to take a brief break, and when we come back, we'll talk about more of the events and things going on that tie in with this Parade of 1,000 Flags. So this is just so as chair, it's kind of your baby to make sure this
takes
happens.
a few hundred. I don't want to count how many phone calls I've made in the last 2 weeks, but it's wonderful to be in touch with everybody. It's such a great community spirit. So.
Okay, well, we'll come back in just a moment and talk more about the Parade of 1,000 Flags.
Okay.
Thank you, Pat. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with our guest, Pat Ferris, chair of the Parade of 1,000 Flags. And we've been talking about the history of this parade and what we look forward to from it. But now you mentioned Kevin McCarthy, Congressman Kevin McCarthy will be our
Grand Marshal.
Grand Marshal.
And a keynote speaker, the keynote and the Grand Marshal.
Okay, so after the parade, then there is a speech and an event.
Well, actually, when after the flags are posted, and it's done very orderly. It's amazing. We're on the street by 9 o'clock. It's happened punctually every year. We're on the street by 9 o'clock. By 9:30, the flags are posted.
Oh.
And it's about 3/4 of a mile. For the route to do the march.
Okay.
And then people kind of gather around the gazebo where the keynote speaker and the dignitaries will be stationed, and then we become the flag bearers become a choir of 1,000 voices and sing "God Bless America."
Oh, okay.
And that's a very moving experience. The gazebo is right in the center, and there's a wall of heroes there that has pictures of our military people, right up to our current admiral. And
now that's aside from they're going to have the wall of remembrance,
totally different thing.
right?
It's just a standing. It's there every year.
Part of the program.
Pictures there by the gazebo that feature our people who've been in the military, and so take everything in that's there. And Tonia, you know a little bit more about the wall. If you'll talk about that, because that's ties in so well.
Yes, they have had veterans in the community. Christina Witt, I know, sort of spearheaded having the wall of remembrance that's coming up from San Diego, going city to city through the state of our fallen in our state, so that it is a wall of remembrance. And they've had a a poker ride, the motorcycle team, the veterans motorcycle, and I'm at a loss of the precise name of the group, but they will be bringing up
It's
the
Patriot Guard.
Patriot Guard and bringing up the Wall of Remembrance, and that will be a part of the vigil then that night. So
No, that's that night of 9/11. Now the parade is on Saturday the 5th because we have to have it on a
okay.
Saturday
Yes.
so everybody can participate. And then the flags will be up all during that week.
Okay.
And at Freedom Park, and then the evening at dusk. We have the candlelight vigil, and China Lake is also part of that.
on the 5th?
On the 11th.
On the 11th,
evening-
okay, on the evening of the 11th. So
11th.
after the week of the flags being posted, on the 11th will be the
The
vigil
night of
that
9/11,
night.
we have that candlelight vigil.
Okay.
It's well received and well attended, and the firemen there, China Lake firemen, are give a presentation of the last call. Now, for both the
Oh.
parade and for this event, we have Chris Carson, who's been our bagpiper, and that sets such a beautiful tone of reverence and a great sense of feeling. I know bagpipes and flags kind of go together. So,
Yes.
So that will also be a part of the and then at the close during the playing of taps, we hand out candles and everybody lights somebody else's candle, and then the whole the park is aglow with by candlelight, with people remembering our heroes, and that's why I want people to remember to participate in the flag parade, because it's the way you can remember our heroes and express your patriotism and your involvement in being concerned about the cost that this has been to our nation and
Families.
is to remember our heroes by carrying a flag, and you won't ever be too late until 8:30 or 9 o'clock on Saturday to be a part of the parade. If you can, give me a call at 371-4301. I would like to know if you're going to be in the parade, then I can assign you a row.
Okay, give that number again for people to call.
371-4301. 371-4301. And then
Okay.
just a couple of days prior, I will assign everybody a row so it doesn't get too, so there's not so much congestion. Everybody will know right where they go. The rows are marked, and there are team captains that will help you get organized, and it goes off just beautifully. Our former commander, Mick Gleason, is our parade commander and has been since we've been doing the parades. And so he helps get all that in place, and so we're well represented by our county supervisor,
Officials and
right,
city.
and our mayor will be as part of the dignitaries in the parade. Also, the
Wonderful.
Burroughs High School band.
Oh,
They always
good.
play, and that sets such a great mood. You just stand tall when you hear the band play Star Spangled Banner. So that's it's well done. Everybody moves with precision. It's just worked really well, because when you get a community moving together and that kind of, there's a lot of people besides all this front part, the dignitaries and the band and all. That's apart from the 1,000 flags that follow up. So you have two segments. And also the vehicles that represent first responders are
okay.
also in the parade. The fire trucks from the China Lake and Kern County, the police, the Liberty Ambulance, sheriff, and law enforcement, and first responders. Their vehicles are going to be included as a part of the presentation.
Oh, it'll make it very exciting and excuse me, moving event. But especially, I think, for children to really see the community come together and the leadership present. It makes a big statement.
It does. Very powerful statement.
It's a powerful statement.
It's etched in children's memories throughout
For their lives.
because they remember those things about the community where they grew up, and the feeling they had, and being able to participate
Yes.
in that sense of community. So there's a lot to
look forward to.
look forward to and to be a part of. We just
Right.
keep growing this, and we have people who come from out of town who march in the parade, who want to be a part of it. So
I would love to see this sweep across the country.
there've been people who have said that it would
Wouldn't
change.
that
It would
be-
change. It would change our nation. It would change our world if people could communities, because everything starts family first. That's that center of that foundation of our society, and then community. We'll never be greater than our families and our community. We'll never be greater as a nation than we are as family and community. And so we can't change things in Washington every day, but we can change things here.
Well, we'll be right back to talk more about the Parade of 1,000
Okay.
Flags. Thank you, Pat. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with our guest, Pat Ferris, chair of the Parade of 1,000 Flags. And I said I was going to confess that this is, in my 4 years being in Ridgecrest, this is my first opportunity to actually get to go to the parade. And I'm going to be marching in the parade.
Oh, good.
I'll be there with my flag.
Good.
And so I'm excited.
And you mentioned you were going to bring some children, and that's a great,
Yes.
even if they're not old enough to carry the big flags, they can stand with you and carry the smaller flags. We had flags to hand out to children. Now the
Good.
flags aren't heavy, but they're kind
Okay.
of tall, so it's hard for children if they're too small to manage. So we try to use kind of 8 years old as a
Guideline
for
no smaller
yeah.
than.
So
Okay, I
so we
was
can
wondering.
keep that managed, because we don't want them to drag them, and
Right.
after once you get moving, it's
And start walking on
yeah,
it, or
yeah.
if-
So,
yeah.
but we do. That's wonderful to have there. We have mothers pushing strollers with the babies carrying flags. So,
yes,
people,
I've
we have
seen
people
those
in
pictures.
wheelchairs carrying flags. So,
Uh-huh.
this is very inclusive.
Well, I always look forward to the Parade of 1,000 Flags, but this year in particular because I'm going to be marching in the parade carrying my flag. So,
Well, as
Very
you look
excited.
on the sidelines and people on the side, we see a lot of people wiping tears from their eyes as the flags are passing by, because it's a very moving experience. This is, it's no less than spectacular when you see this kind of a fields of rows and rows of flags coming down your city streets.
so what exactly is the route? Now you said
We start at Sierra Lanes.
oh, okay, the bowling
alley.
Uh-huh.
And Bill Ferris, my son, gets all the dignitaries and all that first segment, the
Line
band
up.
and everybody. He gets them on the street.
Okay.
That precedes but the flags line up behind. There's it will be easy to find, but behind those buildings, there's a roadway right behind. You go right around from in front of the Sierra Lanes and turn to your left, and you'll see the massive flags there. So that's where the lineup will be. And
Who's providing the flags? Except
we own this Exchange Club
Okay.
owns the flags.
Okay.
Now there have been people who want to buy a flag and own it. So we have people who buy their flag, has their dog tag on it, and they will
keep it.
they will keep them when they come when the event concludes. They can come and take their flag home with them, and so we have more and more people that are owning their own flags. But the Exchange Club owns more than 1,000 flags. So
Okay.
we're prepared.
So they start. So he's going to line us up. They're going to drive out from behind the Sierra Lanes and come down China Lake Boulevard and make
to
a
California
right
Street,
on Ridgecrest Boulevard.
China Lake Boulevard to California, where they go up toward the park, Freedom Park, and the Civic Center there, City Hall, and there's a fountain there, and they separate and go around two ways, and that's a beautiful part.
Yes.
It's the choreography turns out to be really great too, so.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be great. So then, right there, and around that fountain, then is
Then
where.
they split there, and then they go back and start filling in the whole Freedom Park grassy area will be covered with flags then.
Oh, okay. And then they'll have the
program.
voice of 1,000 people.
Yeah, the choir
of
of
1,000 voices.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Are you going to be directing that? Because you are one of the Ferris family singers, as you know, is one of my favorites.
The Ferris family singers will be doing the national anthem.
Okay.
And then
So, and are you going to conduct that?
I will.
Oh, good.
And then we kind of lead in the God Bless America too.
Okay.
We'll have a vocalist sing my granddaughter will be singing. Your granddaughter or grandson will sing the verse part, and then everybody comes in the great chorus.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, it's something I'm really looking forward to.
I'm glad you'll be there.
Yeah. So
We
a lot
have
of
the
people-
Gateway School every year brings about 100 students to participate. They bring 10 rows.
Wonderful.
Isn't that great? But
It
they're really
is.
into this, so it can be done. It takes
Yes.
good leadership in the schools, and it's right after school starts that this happens. So it takes a lot of work to pull that together. But we have some people who work hard to. Ann Lusher from the Gateway School has headed this up every year and been able to pull that together to get that kind of presentation from the Gateway School.
So you had a week ago, I think you had 400 people signed up, and now you've got 900.
We have actually we have 1,000 on the lineup, but it turns out things happen. People end up
Sure.
going out of town, especially with being a Labor Day weekend. So we still want anybody that
You'll take walk-ins.
We'd be happy to have you just walk at the last minute. We'll hand you a flag and give you a spot. It's great if you can give me a call and we can assign you a row. But we'll just be glad to have any participation. We'll make room.
Well, what haven't I asked that you would like to talk about regarding the Parade of 1,000 Flags or Ridgecrest, our history? Anything come to mind?
The history of Ridgecrest.
Yeah, how about, you told me you've been here since...
I came here with my family. I was 11 years old. I came in 1942. You can do the math. It's okay. And we were here before the base came. There were 30 families here. And most people worked either at the chemical companies, Tonia, and was then called West End. And it was during the World War. And so everybody was very conscious of the war effort. You raised victory gardens. You put aluminum pots and pans in a big receptacle that the community provided you. Your tires you threw in the receptacle. Everybody bought into the war effort.
Yes.
Because there was, at first, everybody thought, oh, this won't take long. Well, it took much longer than people anticipated. And so we got really serious to winning, and we, of course, victoriously won, but it was not an easy battle. We lost a lot of people. The cost was tremendously heavy.
And we'll be remembering those
And those all become a part of the
Parade
remembrance.
of the Remembrance.
Absolutely.
And so I thank you so much for joining us. Just before we go, can you give us your number one more time to call?
371-4301.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.